Nice tattoos on him. Nice tattoos. Very nice tattoos.
And Janae Ward, tell us back. Democratic strategist, partner at ARC Initiatives. Great to see you both here. I hope you had both a great weekend. My questions are very basic for both of you at this point. And Chapin, I'm going to start with you as the Republican in this case. With these new numbers from Bloomberg showing Joe Biden's best showing yet in the swing states that will decide this election, what do you make of this argument that Democrats are having with themselves?
Well, it's been a while since I could say it's fun to watch, the turmoil on the other side. And my joke at the top is that I agree, Joe Biden is going nowhere, as well as his campaign. The polling numbers you just mentioned, they are his best showing, but it's not an overwhelming show of support in these numbers. These swing states have gone back and forth, and they're all within the margin of error. This race is very, very, very close. And the president has now a much harder time proving, after the last couple of missteps, that he is up to winning this race. I do think it's going to be hard for Democrats to replace him. I am a person who has low confidence that he will be replaced. He's the one that actually has to agree to do it. Sounds like he's not going to.
Yeah. Would you rather run against Joe Biden or Kamala Harris?
In politics, I like to take the devil so I would like to run against Joe Biden. I mean, I think it's clear he does not have the mental capacity to do the job. Kamala Harris is untested. While, she is the vice president and has run and is a national figure, you don't really know what it's going to be like until, you take the plunge and run. So I do think they're both very weak candidates, to be clear. But I would take Joe Biden over Kamala Harris right now because, Joe Biden's campaign is absolutely floundering.
All right, Janae, I want your reads on this because we've heard a lot, we've learned a lot over the past couple of days, but it doesn't seem like a lot is changing, at least for Joe Biden. Are you impressed by this show of confidence that he's given us the past couple of days?
Well, yes, I am. I believe that the president has shown that he's in this race. He's demonstrated and stated that very clearly, and now it is time for Democrats to work to continue to support our sitting president for his reelection bid. I mean, listen, we've had, the week plus to litigate his debate performance, but now we see in the last couple of times we've seen the president, he's been in front of the camera, that he's up to the challenge, he's up to the test. And as a president who has been battle-tested over the course of his career, and especially in his first 4-year term here as president, he's shown that he's got what it takes. And while these polls will continue to be very tight, that's what polls do, they remain tight right up until the end, especially in a race that's going to be won on the margins. It's important for the president to focus on campaigning in these key battleground states, because these are the states that are ultimately deliver the presidency for him and will once again in November.
But, Janae, you add the 4 seniors, Jerry Nadler, Joe Morell, Adam Smith, Mark Takano, on top of the other Democrats in the House publicly calling for Joe Biden to drop out. What do you tell them?
Well, look, they're entitled to their opinions. I think at the end of the day, it is the most important that we are rallying around the President of the United States to defeat Donald Trump. I mean, these are 4 folks who know the challenge that's ahead of us. From now until November to ensure that we're engaging voters and making sure that we're turning out our supporters in November. So for those who have taken to the public stage to call for the president to step aside, I think he's given them their answer, and now it's time to get back to work.
He was asked in the interview on Friday, Chapin, about taking a neurological test. He pushed back on that. It came up again this morning, and his whole point is that, every day is a test, although he said that he did have a physical as well, was the line that he used. If we're going to put this test to Joe Biden, why not both candidates? Donald Trump is only, 3 years younger, right? If Donald Trump wants him to take a cognitive test, should he do the same?
Yes, if only for the rest of us all to read the letter from the doctor, because that was during Trump 1, that was one of my favorite moments, was the letter from the doctor. But no, you're right, absolutely right. I'm someone who calls out hypocrisy on both sides, and if he's calling for Joe Biden to take the test, maybe he should. But I think just looking, the problem for Joe Biden and Democrats is voters have eyes and ears. Many of us have been complaining, reporting out the president's mental state or capacity to do the job for years. And so, yes, he had a neurological test in February, but he is at an age where that is, I'm not a doctor, but that is probably a little out of date in July, 4 months later. And I did want to underline a point that, a lot of people forget that he is actually working 2 full-time jobs, 2 of the most stressful full-time jobs on the planet he's doing at once, running for president and being president. That is like he said, that is a toll on anyone of any age, and he is an 82-year-old president who is literally having some breakdowns out on the campaign trail. For someone to say that he's not going to do any work after 8 p.m., 8 p.m. in Eastern Time is 9 a.m. in North Korea. So that was, I think, one of the worst things he could have said, and it's making a lot of us nervous. And again, he can take all the tests he wants, but we have been seeing this and watching this unfold in real time in front of our eyes for the last couple of years.
Well, sure, and this is why people are talking about it, although remember the 3 a.m. phone call, the Hillary Clinton ad back in the campaign. We also, though, remember George W. Bush going to sleep at 8:30 or something like that. Janae, I wonder what you're anticipating on Capitol Hill, because there's going to be a very loud cry for the release of the Robert Hur recordings. This was the special counsel who referred to Joe Biden as, a forgetful old man or something like that. The transcript was released. Merrick Garland, there's been a movement to hold Merrick Garland in contempt because he won't deliver the audio recordings. Should Joe Biden, should the Justice Department allow that to happen as he continues to stonewall on this?
Well, no, I think ultimately it's a bit of a distraction. I think that, it just furthers this narrative that folks want to push that, Joe Biden's not up to the challenge to do the job. And ultimately, I don't think we much new there, right? I don't think we unearthed any facts. I don't think we really...
the names of family members in significant events. Shouldn't Americans deserve to hear that?
Well, we're having the conversation across America right now about the president's ability to, have the mental acuity to do the job. So it's not a conversation for not having right now. I think it's ultimately just something to continue, furthering this narrative that really the president is putting to bed with his last couple appearances, whether it's the sit-down interview or whether it's seeing him on the campaign trail at, 100-person rallies, or whether it's seeing him in a campaign office full of supporters and staff. We're seeing the proof out on the campaign trail, and if others want to continue to reinforce kind of this narrative, I think that's ultimately up to them. But the president is proving us wrong, is proving them wrong in many of these cases.
Chapin, we've been talking a lot last couple days for obvious reasons about Kamala Harris, but we still don't know who she will be running against, assuming nothing changes here. The Washington Post out with a story on the sweepstakes saying it's down to 2, that Donald Trump will decide likely by July 15 at the start of the convention, narrowing down to Senators J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. Do you think the vice presidential candidate comes from the U.S. Senate?
I think just by the number of U.S. senators in the running for beefsteak, I I think it is a very high likelihood that it will come from the U.S. Senate. I think they're quality candidates, and I think with President Trump, as we've seen, you sort of take the conventional wisdom about what makes a good vice president, but then you also have to add sort of the Trump factor, right? Trump's personality, the VP, potential VP personality, whether they're going to work well together. And also, Trump is sort of a force of nature all on his own, and the vice president sort of has to be able to have their own portfolio of issues and messaging, but also complement, what the president is doing. And so that's sort of the President Trump two-step here, in trying to figure out exactly which of these people that Brady talked about is the right fit. But I don't think you can just base it on, Florida, for example, is an important state. I don't think you can base it just off the traditional metrics, because there's also, the Trump factor here.
Yeah, it seems like the old rules are kind of out the window. I have less than a minute, and I hate to boil this down to a yes or no question, but does it matter to the Biden ticket who Donald Trump picks?
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to look at what VP brings to the ticket, what a VP pick brings to the ticket. You're either bringing along a state that the president may not be able to win or may be close for the president. You're bringing along a coalition of folks who might not be appealed to by the current president. Ultimately, it's going to be someone whose conservative values are unpopular in America. So in many ways, it doesn't really matter, right? Because we know it's going to be a far-right conservative. But in some ways, it could excite the ticket in unique ways that we might want to look out for.
Well, we've got two events for Trump this week. Tomorrow in Miami, Saturday in Butler, Pennsylvania. I'm thinking we should watch that one pretty closely. Janae and Chapin, stay with us. Our great panel will be back in hour 2 of the fastest show in politics. We're going to talk to Eli Oakley as well coming up in the morning consult. They ran the poll for us here at Bloomberg. Stay with us on Bloomberg Radio. Make sure to subscribe to the Balance of Power podcast. While you're at it, go to Apple, Spotify, or wherever you do your podcast. You can watch us live every day on YouTube and listen anytime at Bloomberg.com.
Now, your 3-day weather forecast on Bloomberg 960.
It'll be partly to mostly sunny at times and breezy during this afternoon. Temperatures 90s inland, holding in the 70s and 80s by the bay. Tonight, clear to partly cloudy skies, 55 to 60. Mostly sunny and breezy weather on Tuesday, 85 inland, 75 for the bay. And about 95 inland on Wednesday, lots of sunshine then, and about 80 around the bay. This is Gary Best with your 3-day weather forecast on Bloomberg 960.
This morning's top headlines. Catch up with Bloomberg Podcast. Bloomberg Daybreak Europe Edition.
The United States has pulled further ahead of China as the world's biggest economy.
Bloomberg Daybreak US Edition.
Let's turn to the Middle East, where fighting in Gaza remains front and center.
And Bloomberg Surveillance. Tons of economic data this week. Listen on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app. And anywhere you get your podcast.
The Fed has made a big move pushing inflation down.
Bloomberg Podcast. Context changes everything.
Access a vast selection of global fixed income securities at Interactive Brokers Bond Marketplace. Search their deep availability of over 1 million bonds globally. IBKR has no markups or built-in spreads and low, fully transparent commissions on bonds. IBKR displays the highest bids and lowest offers received from the electronic venues they access. In addition, clients can interact with each other by placing bids and offers online to execute their trades. Learn more at ibkr.com/bonds.
Don't let biased algorithms or degree screens or exclusive professional networks or stereotypes. Don't let anything keep you from discovering the half of the workforce who are starved. Work or skilled through alternative routes rather than a bachelor's degree. It's time to tear the paper ceiling and see the stars beyond it. Find out how you can make stars part of your talent strategy at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Summer's greatest hits are going on now, and Macy's Monday sale has summer's greatest savings. Shop limited time specials like 40 to 60% off everything for this weekend's backyard bash. From the Cellar Barbecue, Henkels, and Tupperware, 40 to 70% off fine jewelry from Effie, Levion, and more, and 30 to 55% off bras, pajamas, and more basics. Hurry in! Our one-day sale starts Tuesday at Macy's. Savings off already reduced prices, exclusions apply.
In the fast-paced world of financial services, the compliance revolution is coming. Imagine turning your firm's day-to-day business communications into leverage communications data not just to satisfy compliance, but to prevent insider threats, predict risk, and protect against vulnerabilities. With Smarsh, you can unleash the power of regulatory-grade AI to stop risk before it happens. Visit smarsh.com/one to learn more. Smarsh.com/ONE.
Missed the top headlines on Bloomberg 960? Get the latest news when you want it. Updated continuously throughout the day with Bloomberg News Now. Listen on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app. And anywhere you get your podcasts. This is KNEW Oakland. KOSF 103.7 FM HD2 San Francisco. Bloomberg 960. Programming paid for by Bloomberg. From the world of politics to the world of business, this is Balance of Power. Live from Washington, D.C.
Joe Biden says he's going nowhere. Welcome to the fastest show in politics. As the president delivers that message in a series of interviews and now a letter to Democrats on Capitol Hill returning to Washington today. We'll get the latest on this from Bloomberg's Laura Davison. Insights as well from Eli Oakley at Morning Consults on the latest Bloomberg News swing state poll. And Joe Biden's best showing yet, even after the debate. We'll have analysis from our political panel and an update on the beefsteaks, too. It's all after a look at Wall Street. Let's start right there, right now, with Charlie Pellet in New York. Hey, Charlie.
Hello there, Joe Matthew. A little change right now for the S&P 500 index, giving up earlier gains. Any advance today will be another record for the S&P, but here's where we stand. S&P right now up by half a point. Little change there. The Dow in the red, down 49 now, down 1/10 of 1%. NASDAQ building on Friday's record, up another 27 right now, up by about 1/10 of 1%. 10-year 4.27% with a 2-year that's yielding 4.62%. Spot gold down $33 the ounce to $23.58, down 1.4%. And West Texas Intermediate crude down 0.8 of 1%. WTI 82.47 a barrel. Paramount Global has agreed to merge with Skydance Media. And
He did not even stop. He just rolls right through.
David Ellison, ending one of the industry's most
He fucking rolls to the stop sign. I'm the one that had the right way, not you. People in Napa are so special.
At 55-67. Balance of Power continues. Back we go to Washington once again. Your host, here he is, Joe Matthew.
Charlie Pellet in New York, thank you so much and welcome to the fastest show in politics, the Monday edition of Balance of Power. I am Joe Matthew, and we have breaking news, a couple of headlines here coming from the presidential campaign and specific to the Trump campaign. With a conference call underway a short time ago in which it has been confirmed, what we've already been reporting, that Donald Trump will announce his vice presidential candidate by next Monday. And of course, 1 week from today is the start of the Republican National Convention, so that shouldn't be huge news based on what we've been working on. Most likely J.D. Vance and Martha Lucey. Would you believe that? We also now have, interestingly, our first glimpse at the party platform that will be adopted here as part of the Republican National Committee. And of course, with the standard bearer being Donald Trump, the presumptive nominee, not a surprise to see it written in all caps. We're going to pick through some of these elements here on the day that Joe Biden decided to pick up the telephone and call into MSNBC in another attempt to try to tamp down calls for him to drop out of the presidential race following his performance in the debate. That despite his best showing yet in the Bloomberg News swing state poll that just came out over the weekend. Here's a taste of Joe Biden on Morning Joe earlier today.
But I don't care what those big names think. They were wrong in 2020. They're wrong in 2022 about the red wave. They're wrong in 2024. And come on with me. Watch people react. You make a judgment.
And that's where we start our conversation with Laura Davis, Bloomberg's politics editor, who had a busy weekend. Your phone's probably still blowing up right now.
Not
So it's
sure.
very kind of you to join me. It's great to see you. I hope you had a great holiday. This was the latest attempt here. Before we go through this party platform that we're going to hear about in Milwaukee next week, Joe Biden picked up the phone this morning, arguably calling a friendly crowd here to talk to a supportive broadcaster. Are we going to get more of this? Does that mean that it's working?
It definitely means that Biden is definitely feeling the pressure and feeling a little bit more desperate. There was also a letter he sent to all House Democrats today, House and Senate Democrats, saying, hey, look, I'm not going anywhere. It's time to unite. Almost chastising them a little bit. Like, hey, we're wasting time here. I'm staying put. Then he calls into MSNBC trying to reach the broader electorate, Democratic base. And then he just had a call that just ended moments ago with top donors, where he said, look, we need to stop wasting time. We all need to get behind me. This, is a really critical time for the campaign. You have a lot of donors in full freak out here who are, deciding whether to withhold donations to the party or give to only House and Senate. All of this is not good news for President Biden.
Full freak out is the headline. We have 10 now House Democrats, 4 seniors, either publicly or off the record on this call that took place last night, calling for him to step down. He was trying to head this off with the letter that you described this morning. A 2-pager, tersely written. I'm going nowhere is the sentiment here. I am not dropping out of this race. How many